Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my parents' basement in the great state of Kansas. And this video is video I need to do before the end of the year because I've been wanting to do this video for a while and actually did one video on this subject already, and that is movies that are getting anniversaries for the year 2025. Movies that have been 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I think I have even years old on my list, and just talk about some movies that came out in the past that I recommend anybody watching, of course, that are ones that I especially really enjoy. And talk about, it's been so long now. It's crazy that they're having anniversaries and what anniversaries are, anyways, and talk about important movies and all that. I did one video where I talked about movies that came out in 2015, which were 10-year-olds. So those were movies that came out 10 years ago, having the 10-year anniversary this year. And I think the movies I talked about on that one were Woman in Gold, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Love and Mercy, Jurassic World, Rogue Nation, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I should say. The Man from Uncle, The Martian, Spotlight, and Creed. I don't remember if I talked about all of them, but I think I did a video where I talked about those movies getting 10-year anniversaries and being pretty big movies, anyways. So I won't talk any more about those, but we'll go back into 20 years ago, and I'll go from there onwards anyway. So, yeah, start with movies that have been around for 20 years. I recommend. First one I have on my list is, and this is in no particular order, I just have it here. The Phantom of the Opera I have on here. I absolutely love the Phantom of the Opera. I'm a big fan of musicals, and this is one of my favorite musicals of all time. I think Joel Schumacher directed this, who I think his best movie, he's known for more disaster movies, I think, and he's known for Batman. I think two of the Batman movies. Anyways, but I remember I went and saw this actually with a girlfriend in 2005. My girlfriend at the time, and I didn't really know anything about the music of Phantom of the Opera, to be honest. I just knew it was a big musical and it was a big movie, and I like musicals, so I think I took her out to the movie, and I was just so mesmerized by the music, and I absolutely loved it, and was like, "Holy cow, this is like some of the best music I've ever heard." And I remember the next day or so, I went to Walmart and I found Phantom of the Opera soundtrack on CD, and I bought it like the next day. I loved the music so much. That's before I had Spotify or anything. And actually went out and got a CD. I don't have the CDs anymore, but yeah, I got the CDs and listened to them. I used to listen to. I think I put it on iTunes. I think I put like on. I used to have an iPod, or actually, I put it on my iPod anyways. And I used to listen to it all the time. I absolutely love that music. Yeah, it's one of the great musicals. I thought it was a good adaptation of it. It's a little long at times. There are some parts that are a little slow moving that I wish they would have cut out. But oh my gosh, music's so good. Gerard Butler, first time we've seen him in a movie, like no one's ever heard Gerard Butler, and then he came in as the Phantom in this movie and was great. And he's had an incredible. It's funny, yeah. So he's been around 20 years now. He's had a 20-year career kind of since then, and has done 300 and How to Train Your Dragon recently, and a lot of action movies. Olympus Has Fallen, and a lot of comedies as well. And yeah, I think he's just a really good actor, and he's really great as the Phantom here. Great voice too. You don't hear him sing really very often, but he's great singing because everybody sang in the movie, including Gerard Butler sang all the Phantom Opera parts. Phantom Opera is so cool because not only it's a musical, but it has a little rock to it as well. Some of the numbers, and there's some great harmonies in there as well. Of course, Music of the Night is the big song on there. Really well done. Of course, Family Opera, Music of the Night. Um, my favorite song actually is Masquerade. Masquerade, what an amazing scene. I think the visuals are really good in the movie too. The set design, the costuming, all the cinematography. It's crazy. I think it might have got a couple Oscar nominations, and definitely deserved. If not getting those nominations, should have won maybe, like costume or just set design. It was so good. But I love that Masquerade. It's a good song with a lot of voices, a lot of huge, you know, notes with a lot of voices that I love. And I just love this one part where they kind of go down the stairs and there's like flower petals flowing down, and they're doing Masquerade, and they're doing like this very big, number, something on parade, Masquerade. Something of world around you. Dun 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 dun. Oh, music is amazing. But yeah, I love that moment. Visually, it's cool. The song is awesome. But yeah, so many good moments in there. So for me, Phantom of the Opera, one of the greatest musicals, and one that just, yeah, just still to this day, one of my favorite anyway. So yeah, Phantom of the Opera came out in 2005. Another movie I have on here is Hitch. Hitch, one of my favorite romantic comedies. It's funny, Will with Will Smith before he you know kind of hurt his career, killed his career. I mean, I was a huge Will Smith fan, mostly doing action comedy type movies, sci-fi movies, and this was just a straight out romantic comedy or comedy. Really, it's really just straight out comedy. And really, the funniest character is Kevin James. Kevin James, best work he's ever done. At this point, I knew Kevin James probably more for his TV show, King of Queens, and he did some stand-up comedy, in fact, and he probably appeared in some movies here and there. But I don't know if he was. I don't know. This movie to me almost made him a star because he was by far, I think, the funniest person in this. And Will Smith is good, but man, Kevin James, loser, fat loser kind of guy. But he's trying to get this really good-looking girl, and Will Smith's helping him get this good-looking girl because he's really a good guy in heart. I mean, that's just part of the story. I mean, because the whole thing, it's this idea that this guy can help men get really good-looking women in relationships and stuff like that by, doing certain things, I guess, even if they're not, seem good enough for these women. Anyway, so it's an interesting enough premise, and he's having his own troubles trying to romance this other woman. But yeah, overall, very solid, very, very funny. I mean, the funniest scene for sure is when Kevin James is talking about, or they're going to a party. And he says, talking about what he's going to do. He's going to dance. He says, "Oh, no problem there. I know how to dance." And then he does this whole dance move and the Q-tip, throw it away, and making pizza. He's doing these funniest dance moves and explaining them. And Will Smith is just sitting there, just. And then at the end, he slaps him, which is funny now, seeing him slap Kevin James since he's known for slapping people. And he tells him, "Get out." By far one of the funniest scenes. But yeah, Hitch, really good romantic comedy. I have to put a recommend on that. Next movie I have is Robots. Really good animation movie. I believe it was Sky Blue, I think the name is the animation company that's not around anymore. I'm trying to think, did they do? I They did Robots. I want to say Ice Age might have been like their big like franchise that they did a bunch of Ice Ages or something like that, and they did a couple other ones. I'm gonna forget on top of my mind, but I know Robots is one of them. Robots is I thought it was really good. I saw it in the movie theater, I remember, and I thought it was a really funny animation movie about a world where everybody's robots, of course, and they act like humans. And of course, the star is Robin Williams. Robin Williams plays a robot that the main character is played by Ewan McGregor. I'm forgetting names, but like Clank or something like that. His name, I can't remember his name, but he's an inventor, and he wants to go to Bigswell because Bigswell is this famous inventor, and he has this big company, and so he kind of travels out of a small town to go meet Bigwell because he wants to be an inventor just like him. He's kind of this hero, and he turns out that it's actually run by an evil robot kind of. Anyways, and he can't get in, and something's wrong with Bigswell, and then he kind of runs into this ragtag group of robots with Ron Williams as one of them. And again, Ron Williams, one of my favorite comedic actors, one of the best voice actors of all time. He's absolutely hilarious as this one robot. I forget the name of the robots, but kind of a red looking robot anyways. And uh, has so many great stuff. Anyways, there's a lot of other characters that are very funny as well. But yeah, a really good, funny story with actually a pretty good story overall. I think probably the Ice Age is really great. I think Ice Age is one of their. Ice Age is it's hard to say. Ice Age is great. Robots is also really great. One of their best. And I can't remember if somebody bought them out. I don't know if Disney bought them out or DreamWorks. No, maybe not Disney, but somebody I think bought out Sky Blue. And it's not around anymore. But anyways, Robots. If you haven't seen it, very good animated movie. Came out 2005. All right, talk about another romantic comedy. I'm not always talking about romantic comedies. There have been some romantic comedies here and there that I really love. This is another one called Fever Pitch. I thought it was a great romantic comedy starring Jimmy Fallon, and one of the few movies that he starred in. after Saturday Night Live, because he was big on Saturday Night Live, and then he did like this movie called Taxi or something with Queen Latifah, which I don't think was particularly that great if I remember. And then he did this one. He only did a couple movies where he kind of started trying to do that thing where they come off Saturday Night Live and they try to make a career in comedy as a lead in comedic movies. And I like Jimmy Fallon a lot. He's a very funny guy, and I think he does a really good job here. Anyways, this is his best one that I've seen. Fever Pitch with Drew Barrymore, and I absolutely love Drew Barrymore. If you saw my top 10 favorite actresses, she was in my top 10 because I love the romantic comedies. Actually, I'm not the biggest romantic comedy guy, but the best ones have Drew Barrymore in there for me. I really like Drew Barrymore, and she's great in this one as well. It's actually a remake off of a English movie about Europe football, what we call soccer in America. This one's about the Boston Red Sox, and kind of about how Jimmy Fallon's character is a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, and he's trying to romance Drew Barrymore, who's a teacher, or no, he's a teacher. Was she? She's like a news reporter, or she's a journalist or something. And they kind of start a relationship, but then his obsession with the Red Sox is getting in the way, and it's like he's trying to decide, what's more important, my obsession with the Red Sox or my relationship with Drew Barrymore, and that's kind of getting in the way of everything. And yeah, I think it's Jim Fallon very funny, and again, good chemistry between him and Drew Barrymore in the movie, and actually has some good heartfelt moments. That's the great part of the movie, is that there's a couple moments where it's actually a little emotional, and I thought they did a really good job there. A very good happy ending. They fall in love and all that. Overall, yeah, really good romantic comedy. Fever Pitch, definitely. I feel like one that people don't talk very much about, and that's why I like doing these videos. Try to recommend something if someone has never heard of it or seen it. Like I really recommend Fever Pitch. Even if you don't like romantic comedies, I think it's one of the best ones. So that's on my list here, and came out in 2005, 20-year-old movie. Next movie I have is Sahara. Sahara is a really fun, again, this is another movie people don't talk about, starring Matthew McConaughey. I think Penelope Cruz is in here. Not forgetting the other guy that's in here. He's very funny. Steve Zahn, I think it is. Steve Zahn, I believe, is in here. And it's really an action adventure movie, kind of like National Treasure. It's kind of like a little bit like that, except it's maybe more action in it. And because it's about Matthew McConaughey, he's trying to find this Civil War boat that has gold in it. So as you see, yeah, it's like National Treasure. And so he's looking in the desert because he believes it's in the desert or something, the Sahara Desert. So he goes to the desert to try to find this boat and find this gold. And there's, of course, some bad guys after him. And he's, him and Steve Zahn are like mercenaries almost. I don't know, they used to be like military, so they're good at, shooting guns and fighting. And yeah, it's just a really fun movie. It's got some good comedy. Rainn Wilson, the first time I ever saw Wayne Wilson in a movie, this was right before The Office started. And Rainn Wilson was very funny in the movie. He plays a very funny character in it. I remember thinking, gosh, this guy's really funny. And then like the next year he was in The Office, and he was hilarious in The Office. So that was kind of funny. Anyways, Penelope Cruz, man, she is so good looking. Holy cow. She was great in this movie as well. Yeah, if you haven't seen it or heard of it, Sahara, really fun movie if you like fun action adventure movies. Another action movie that is very funny I liked is Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is a movie where basically Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie kind of meet. It was like soon after this that I think they either broke up, divorced their spouses, and they got married, and then of course they eventually got divorced. But they had a long marriage, I think, and it was kind of a big deal. They kind of came across on this movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they both play secret assassins, but they don't know. And then they get married, they don't know the other one's a secret assassin. And then they're trying to keep it, so they're trying to keep it secret from each other, but then it eventually comes out that they're both secret assassins, and then people are trying to kill them. Overall, good action movie. There's a scene where they're in a minivan. It's funny, they get in a minivan because they're trying to be like a regular family. And so they get in a minivan and they're getting pursued by all these bad guys and shot at. And it's a very fun scene. It's very funny dialogue in here as well. I thought, obviously, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, great chemistry together, do very well together in this. And the actual last scene in the movie, very good action sequence where being kind of targeted by other assassin groups, and they have this final, showdown at a mall or something. Very good as well, anyways. But yeah, definitely recommend Mr. and Miss Smith. A fun action movie with a lot of comedy. Another movie, one of my favorite superhero movies, and that is Batman Begins. Yeah, Batman Begins, man, it's actually my favorite Batman movie. I like it better than the sequels, in fact, and anything that's come after. Before, Christian Bale, so good as Batman, as Bruce Wayne. Uh, this is the first, well, one of the first times I remember Christopher Nolan, hearing about Christopher Nolan. It's not his first movie, but this definitely made him a bigger director because it was a huge box office movie, I believe, and started this whole franchise, this new franchise of Batman. And great cast. I mean, incredible cast with Christian Bale. They got Liam Neeson in here as Ra's al Ghul. You got Morgan Freeman in here. You got Michael Caine. You got Tom Wilkinson. You got what's his name? The guy in Oppenheimer is also the first time I ever saw him in a movie, and he as a Scarecrow, the Scarecrow character, and he was amazing here as well. Killian Murphy, I thought he was so good. The Batman, like the way he says that, he was great, and it's a great villain as well. So, yeah, incredible kind of maybe the best origin story for a superhero. Where I would say, yeah, best origin story. Now, Batman's probably my favorite superhero, and this was such a good way. And Christian Bale's so good, I think, as Batman, and great way of explaining like how he became Batman. He went through all this ninja training overseas, kind of, and then came back. And because he's Bruce Wayne, he's a billionaire, so he has money, and then he has like this section run by Morgan Freeman that has all this military stuff. So he uses that to build a suit, and so he kind of explains like why does he have a Batman suit? Why does he have a cape? Why does he have the batarangs and stuff like that? Why does he have the car, and it kind of explains it so well. And of course, why he's basically like a ninja, so that's why he's so good at sneaking up on people. Anyway, so it's such a good origin story for the Batman character, the best one I've seen personally, and yeah, it's great action, great characters. I'm just remembering a guy who plays Gordon is also another great actor. I'm forgetting his name now. Yeah, so many great actors here in this movie. Yeah, great ending. I mean, it's just, I don't know, perfect like superhero origin story. I still love today. It's one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies. Maybe my second one behind Inception, but yeah, obviously that's one most people have seen, but still have to mention what a great movie. I have a lot of movies for this year. This was such a good year, 2005, as I look at the movies on here. Another one, War of the Worlds. I really loved War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds might have been my favorite movie coming out of this year. Um, Steven Spielberg, you got Tom Cruise in in the lead. You got Dakota Fanning, little Dakota Fanning, 11-year-old, who's very good here as well. And it's of course a remake of the story, or the Orson, or it's a story that was made into an old movie, very famous. One of the most famous alien invasion movies that we've seen. Uh, Visually, it's just great. I love when of course, I love Tom Cruise. He's one of my favorite actors, and he's kind of playing an everyday guy in this. And aliens are attacking. And he's just trying to protect. I guess I love it because it's just really at the core. It's just about a guy who's trying to protect his children from a disaster. It just happens to be an alien invasion. But I love and that the fact that he's somewhat, he's in a divorce, and so he doesn't have the greatest relationship with his son and daughter, and here he is having to protect them, and just them bonding over this, or trying to, becoming closer as a family. And at the end, it's just actually fairly emotional, and a really great ending. We feel like they are closer as a family because of this whole terrible situation. But even the alien invasion scene is so great. The aliens coming out of the ground and starting to blast everybody, and you see Tom Cruise running, and you see the alien machines behind him, blasting, destroying things. Like one of the great scenes is when he's in the car and they're driving away, and it destroys the whole overpass. Whole overpass is falling down. Oh my gosh, incredible visuals. And it's had some comedy here and there, some very good dramatic moments. I thought actually a really good performance by Tom Cruise. Like, it's not going to get an Oscar nomination, but I thought really good performance. Tom Cruise always nails it in these movies. And Spielberg, he's such a good director. This is one of my favorite Spielberg movies, and he does great with action, sci-fi type movies, of course. And there's some great scenes, like when they're in this, they're kind of hiding in this basement, and this alien kind of eye thing is going through the basement, and they have to hide from it. Just pure Spielberg greatness, brilliant Spielberg. How he shoots the whole scene, how he arranges how it happens, and how they barely don't get seen by this alien. So good. A lot of great moments like that, anyways. But yeah, I really love War of the Worlds. I think it got some hate, but I think it did really well in the box office. Definitely one to check out. All right, I know I've got a lot of movies here to talk about, so I'm trying to get through them quickly as I can. I'm gonna mention Sky High. Sky High is another kind of underrated movie about super. It's about these kids that their parents are superheroes, and they go to a superhero high school called Sky High. And the main character, his dad, is like kind of like Superman, played by Kurt Russell, I think. But anyways, it's more about the kids, but he doesn't have a special power yet, and so and everybody in the school is divided into superheroes and sidekicks, and everybody thinks he's going to be a superhero because of his dad, but he ends up being in the sidekick with all the sidekicks who don't have weak superpowers, and all the really cool superpower kids are in the hero classes. So, but it's a very funny movie, kind of a fun idea premise of, what if you're the kid of a superhero? What kind of school would you go to? Overall, just a really fun movie. Sky High really surprised me too. I never expected much out of it, and when I saw it, I was like, "Wow, this movie's so funny." Yeah, it's a great movie. I say great. I mean, it's very underrated. Sky High. Next movie I have on my list is another Cillian Murphy movie, and that's called Red Eye. It came out the same year, in fact. Good year for Cillian Murphy, kind of. I'm trying to think I have the movie somewhere on DVD, and I'm forgetting the actress who made the main character. It's like really well-known actress, like Rachel McAdams or something. Uh, Really good thriller, and it's like Wes Craven or somebody that does the movie, which known for horror. This is like a really good underrated thriller, I think. And Red Eye is kind of basically this woman is on an airplane flight on the Red Eye. They call them the Red Eye. I think that flights that are late at night or something like that. And she's on the Red Eye flight, and a guy played by Cillian Murphy sits by her, and he seems like a nice, charming guy at first, but then you find out that actually he has her house or something like that surrounded by some bad men. And basically, I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember really liking it. But he basically says, like, you have to do whatever, I forget whatever position she's in, she has to do this or that, or he's going to kill her family, kind of thing. And they're on an airplane, so she has nowhere to go or nothing to do. But it's actually really good and thrilling, and how she gets out of the situation, and how they finally get to her family and tries to protect, save her family from the bad guys. I can't give away too much because I don't remember too much about the movie, except that I thought it was really good for a movie that takes mostly on an airplane, anyways. And Cillian Murphy really great here as the bad guy in the movie, anyways. Yeah, so yeah, if you haven't heard of it, you don't know anything about it, check out Red Eye. It's really good. Another movie I have on my list is called An Unfinished Life. This was a Clint Eastwood. I don't know if he directed, but it stars Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman and Jennifer Lopez, and it's kind of about Jennifer Lopez and her son. She was married, I think, to Clint Eastwood's character's son, but his son died, and so he doesn't have much relationship with her. And so, but she comes to his farm. He's kind of like on a farm or something, I think. And she comes to him for help because her current boyfriend, I think, is very abusive or something like that. And she's, afraid for her life. So she runs to him. And it's kind of this very tense relationship because they don't have the best relationship, and of course then and his son died, so then that makes it even worse. But she does have his grandson and all that. I think it's a grandson. It might be a granddaughter. Again, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but really good drama movie. I mean, some great actors there. Even Jennifer Lopez, not known for acting, probably one of her better performances actually in the movie. But Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman are great together. Morgan Freeman's like a farmhand, and they're like good friends, and he works on a farm or something. I say farm. I don't remember if it's a farm. It's something like a farm. And Clint Eastwood is his usual great, uh, grouchy old man, kind of role. But but there's a good, this whole, obviously he's very angry about his son dying. I can't remember why his son died, but his son died, and that's why it's called An Unfinished Life, because his son, died kind of young or whatever. And so I don't know if he blames her for it or whatever, but it's one of those things where they're trying to get over their bitterness and anger over this tragic situation together and come closer, somewhat as a family. And then he also protects her from this guy who's trying to like hurt her, I think. Anyways, I think another underrated movie, Unfinished Life. Might not have heard of it, but check it out. Good movie, An Unfinished Life. Another romantic comedy I really liked. Here we got another romantic comedy, Just Like Heaven. Just Like Heaven. I thought was another very underrated romantic comedy. Um, this stars Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo. This is one of the first movies, maybe the first movie I ever saw Mark Ruffalo in. Here's again, we're talking about 20 years. Some of these actors, they're in their 20s now or 30s now. They're in their 40s and 50s, so they got a lot older. And Ruffalo wasn't well known at the time, and he definitely wasn't an Oscar type actor. Again, here he is in a romantic comedy. He did a couple comedies here and there. He was another good romantic comedy, actually, 13 Going on 30. I think after this or before this. Anyways, maybe after this, because anyways, Reese Witherspoon was uh, by this time maybe winning an Oscar, or she might have won an Oscar already for Best Actress, or she was around that time, so she was very big at the time. Anyways, but the whole premise is that Reese Witherspoon, she plays a doctor who then I think she gets hit by a car, and so then she's like a ghost. Um, but she doesn't realize she's a ghost, and she she appears randomly at this apartment that she used to live in, but now it's owned by Mark Ruffalo because she died. The apartment was free to, I guess, rent, and so Mark Ruffalo's character rents this apartment that's hers, and she appears to him as a ghost and tells him to get out because it's her place, and he's like, like what the heck's going on? He thinks he's being haunted. Anyways, and so then they kind of finally talk, and they find out that that she died and all this, and but she doesn't remember who she is or what she did, like where she worked, or she doesn't know her family. It's almost like she has amnesia. The only thing she knows is that she used to live in the apartment, I guess. And so he tries to help her out, trying to find her, what happened to her and why she's like that. Anyways, uh, yeah, and of course they fall in love and all this, anyways. And I won't give too much away except that it's a usual man comedy thing. They hate each other at first, but then they fall in love, kind of thing. But actually, very funny and a really cool story. And I thought both Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon were really great together in the movie. And yeah, very underrated, but one to check out if you haven't seen it. Just Like Heaven. Next one is one of the best stop motion animation movies, a huge one for this year, and that is Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit. Yeah, this is Aardman's, who makes all these Wallace and Gromit shorts. This is the first live action movie of Wallace and Gromit. They made one recently on Netflix. It came out on Netflix. So they only have two. One that came out in theaters, and the second one came out on Netflix, which is, I forget the name of it, but the second one's good too. And I do love a lot of the Wallace and Gromit shorts. Of course, this is like stop motion animation style animation, which sometimes works for me, sometimes doesn't. This one definitely works. I love the Wallace Gromit characters, and the whole story is great, and it's a very funny movie. It won the Oscar, I remember, for best animated movie for this year, so it did very well critically, all that. So I don't know, I don't know much to say except another really excellent uh, animation movie and I love animation movies, so definitely want to check out if you haven't. Really great. Um, the next movie is an animation movie that I really like that other people hate, but I'm going to still put it on my recommended here, and that's Chicken Little. In fact, I know if Jacob Martin's watching this, he hates Chicken Little. It's his least favorite Disney movie of all time. This is part of Disney animation. This was kind of the first Disney animation movie that was fully CGI, or what do you call it? Not CGI, but computer, instead of hand drawn 2D animation, it's computer animation. Because Pixar was killing it, of course, already with in '95 with Toy Story, and they kind of paved the way for that kind of style. Disney was still doing 2D animation at that point. They did do Dinosaurs, which is mostly, I think, computer animated, but some of it's 2D or something. It's a combination of the two. And then DreamWorks, of course, comes out with like Shrek, and they make it huge with Shrek. And they mostly just do computer. It's funny. It's like it feels like computer animation was like this new thing, but it kind of took over and they kind of destroyed 2D animation almost, where you didn't see 2D animation much anymore. And because it's great, I mean, the animation is amazing, and it's gotten more amazing over the years. And so finally, Disney animation was like seemed like the last one to kind of get in on the craze of going away from 2D animation and doing computer. And this was like the first one they did, which was fully computer animated. I saw this in theater and absolutely loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It takes that Chicken Little story, where he acorn hits his head and he thinks the sky is falling. It takes that short story but makes a whole movie about what's his life like after that. Everybody makes fun of him for the moment. His dad's embarrassed about him, and they make this whole really fun story about the Chicken Little character. And the whole story, it's got these all these fun kind of characters that you would see, and I don't know, what do you call them, those type of stories. Like you have Foxy Loxy, you have Ugly Duckling, those type of stories, those kid stories. I love how they put those type of characters in here. Fish out of water, the runt of the litter. I love the kind of different characters they have here. Again, I believe Steve Zahn does the runt of the litter. Very funny. Zach Braff is Chicken Little here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people hate this. I've heard a lot of people hate this movie. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I love the Bare Naked Lady song. One Little Slip is great here. There's a lot of other good music in here. One of Don Knotts' actually last movies, he plays the mayor, the turkey mayor. I know some of the story. There's an alien storyline here actually, and I think people didn't like that. And that kind of slows the movie down because there's a whole storyline where it's just about Chicken Little trying to get respect from his dad, and so he goes out for baseball. So it almost feels like two different movies, I guess, at times. But I don't know. I love the father-son dynamic, that the father and son are having trouble because the mom died or something, and so they don't relate to each other very well, and they don't talk, whatever. But then they become a good father and son relationship. The father kind of realizes his mistakes, and they mend the relationship. So I think it's actually really good emotionally as a father-son story. I know it's crazy. You probably think, what? It's a silly movie, but I don't know. I think it has some good emotional moments in it, and good music moments, and it's very funny. So I still die. I still die on that hill. I think Chicken Little is really good. So I'm going to put in my recommendations here for 2005. Next movie I have is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This was almost like a start of a comeback for Robert Downey Jr. It's funny, and this was a Shane Black written movie, directed movie, and it's got Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer in here. It's like one of Val Kilmer's maybe last great role before he went through his cancer issues, I think, whatever, his throat cancer, whatever he had to go through. So it's the last time we really got to see Val Kilmer, in a good role. And Robert Downey Jr. really kind of he's really great in these type of roles. He's very funny. It's a mixture. It's a bit of a comedy, but it's an interesting story. It's been a while since I've seen it, and it's got probably some of the best narration, where Robert Downey Jr. is narrating what's going on, and it's very funny. The narration, I think, is really good use of narration. And I can't remember the overall story, but he he gets involved in like a murder mystery thing, and I can't remember why he got involved. But anyways, and that's how he gets Val Kilmer's like a police officer that's like investigating a murder, I think, and somehow Robert Downey Jr. is with him, trying to figure it out. I can't remember all the details, but I just remember it was a very fun story, very funny, really good performance by Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer together. And this was like right before he did Iron Man. I think he did this, and then he did Iron Man like right the next year in 2006, and then he really blew up as a huge star to the point now where he's won an Oscar for Oppenheimer recently. And he's one of the big stars in Hollywood. But it's funny because he was a kid star before this, like a kind of a teenager. You know, he was in a lot of movies as a teenager, and then he got into drugs, and that kind of ruined his career. And he's kind of just at this point. I remember just thinking of I knew Rob Jr. mostly because he was getting arrested for drugs and stuff, and he was ruining his life, and that was all he's known for. And then he did like this movie, and then I was like, oh my gosh, Robert Downey Jr. He's so good. And then he gets Iron Man, and then it's like, oh my gosh, he's so good in Iron Man. And of course, was the star of that whole franchise, the Avengers franchise, I think, including with the Endgame. And then he wins an Oscar for Oppenheimer. So he's had just an amazing career, I think, starting with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So definitely one to check out if you haven't. Another movie I have to talk about is Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter Goblet of Fire. It's one of my favorite Harry Potter movies that came out this year. It's probably like might be my second favorite behind Deathly Hallows Part 2. I don't know. I've heard different people. It's funny. I've heard different Harry Potter fans rank Harry Potter movies very differently. I've heard some put this like towards the bottom, like this is one of the least favorite. I don't know. I'm one of those that it's also one of my favorite books too in the series. And I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I love the books. I love the movies. I got all the books. I got all the movies. Seen them several times. Read the book several times. Yeah, one of my favorite fantasy, probably my favorite fantasy series of all time, to be honest. And Godfire is so good. It's the fourth movie and fourth book in the series. I forget who directed this one, but the Harry Potter and the characters are getting a little bit older here. It's the first PG-13 movie in the series. The other ones were PG, so it's a little darker than the other ones. It's got a lot of stuff going on, and it's a really good mystery. I think overall it's a really good mystery movie because the whole thing is there's this Tri-Wizard tournament. I love that idea, the world building. I love the world building of the Wizarding World, and that there's this Tri-Wizard tournament that comes out every once in a while. And we got these schools, these wizards from different schools coming. One from France, I think, one from, I forget, somewhere else. And they are, competing. And somebody put Harry Potter's name in the Goblet of Fire, and now he's in the Tri-Wizard tournament, even though he's underaged for it. And he didn't do it, but the question is who did it, who put his name in the Goblet of Fire, and who's trying to kill him. I don't know. It's a really good mystery movie with a good twist at the end, and a very good emotional moment too. It's the first time we see Voldemort. Ralph Fiennes so good as Voldemort, and the design of Voldemort so good. And yeah, so that's great when Voldemort shows up for the first time in the series, and he has a showdown with Harry Potter. That's amazing. We get Robert Pattinson in this movie. First time I've ever seen Robert Pattinson in a movie, and now he's kind of a somewhat big star now in the Batman. He did the Batman movie. He was in Mickey 17, which was terrible, but he's doing a lot of work now. After Twilight, he did Twilight right after Harry Potter, and that kind of almost ruined his career, I think. But here he's pretty good in Harry Potter. Also, I'm trying to think of names. Mad-Eye Moody, that's such a great character. That's introduced in this, and we get introduced to like the Killing Curse, and the Forbidden Curses, whatever, and the Killing Curse, which is such a big Avacadabra or whatever. We'll get a lot of that in the rest of the series. So yeah, so many good things introduced into the Wizarding World, and story-wise, so many great things that are very monumental to the rest of the franchise. I don't know. I love the dragon scene where he has to, fly and he has this dragon chasing him, and he has to get something, and he's on the broomstick, and he has to get the egg or whatever. He has to get this egg thing that the dragon is protecting, and yeah, I always thought that was a really good action sequence. Anyways, I go on and on. I love Harry Potter. Love the Goblet of Fire. One of my favorites in the series. All right, I'm almost done with 2005. I know I spent a lot of time on here. I'm gonna not get too far. We'll see. Yeah, so we do have Walk the Line this year. So I was right. Reese Witherspoon won the Oscar this year for Best Actress for Walk the Line, a movie about Johnny Cash. She plays June Carter Cash in the movie. So she did two movies I really liked this year. A really good year for Reese Witherspoon. What can I say? This is, I said, like a biopic, music biopic, with Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny Cash, and one of the best biopics we've ever gotten. And it's 20 years old now. It's crazy. I remember seeing it in the theater. Now it's been 20 years. Just how time flies. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what I can say. If you like music biopics, it's a really good one. I'm not even a big Johnny Cash fan, but I do like the music here. There's a lot of good music that I've learned in this movie for Johnny Cash. I didn't know that much about him, and yeah, I didn't. I learned a lot about his story, kind of a little bit through this. And of course, Joaquin Phoenix is so good. He got nominated for this movie. Reese Witherspoon's very good. She won her Oscar. So yeah, really good stuff here. Yeah, one of my favorite music biopics. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check out Walk the Line. The last movie I got for this year is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I've always been a big fan. This is, of course, a great fantasy story from C.S. Lewis, who is a Christian author who mostly wrote, I don't know what he say. He wrote more Christian, nonfiction books, but then he kind of, and he was friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote the Lord of the Rings movies, and then here's C.S. Lewis trying his hand at kind of the same thing, kind of fantasy story. And I've always loved this story since I was a little kid. And so I'm so happy that we finally got to the point, I think because of Lord of the Rings, fantasy movies got real popular and the technology got to a point where we can do fantasy, we can do CGI very well. And so I was so happy that they came out finally with another edition of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I think this movie is excellent. It's one of my favorites of the year, for sure. I saw it, I think, twice in theater. It's one of those movies that I cry every time I see it. It spoiled the movie. Aslan, the death scene for Aslan, the lion, played by Liam Neeson, who's kind of basically like God. He's kind of almost like taking place of God in this fantasy world. And his death scene, oh my gosh, I cry like every time I see it. It's so sad because you love Aslan. Aslan's so good. And it's almost like, of course, C.S. Lewis being a Christian, it almost seems like he's, like Jesus dying on the cross. And so I always think of Jesus dying on the cross when I see the scene of Aslan getting, because Aslan doesn't need to die, but he sacrifices his life to save someone else. Obviously, very much like Jesus, what he does. Anyway, so a very emotional story in that sense, but overall a very good fantasy story. The four kids in this fantasy world through the wardrobe. The still, I think the special effects are very good. And again, first time we've seen James McAvoy in a movie. He plays Mr. Tumnus here, Tumnus, whatever. So it's cool seeing him here for the first time. Uh, yeah, it's just a really good story, really good fantasy story. I think the action at the end is very good. Also, the first time I saw, I'm gonna forget her name, but the actress who plays the White Witch or whatever, the main villain, she is so good in this movie and in this role. Um, I think she should have got an Oscar nomination. She was so good as the evil queen in this movie, and I can't. Sorry, she won an Oscar for another movie after this, but and she's always a very interesting actress, and I'm forgetting her name at the moment, and nobody's in the chat to tell me what the name is, unfortunately. But yeah, very good performance there. So yeah, still a very very big fan of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Very good adaptation of that story. All right, that was 2005. So those are all movies I recommend that are 20 years old if you haven't seen it. All right, we're gonna get to another big year, 1995. These are movies that are 30 years old, which is insane to me because, again, now I'm 42, but I kind of grew up in the 90s. I saw a lot of these movies in the movie theater, and it's just insane to me that these movies are 30 years old. I'm that old now. I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember because I talked to people younger than me, and it's like they weren't alive yet, and I have to go, I'm so old. I remember all these movies from 30 years ago. Oh my gosh. So yeah, these movies, and I should say 1995, my favorite year of movies. So I'm gonna talk about some of my favorite movies of all time came out this year. This is how good this year is. Um, yeah, absolutely incredible year for movies, and we'll get into it here. But yeah, all 30 years old, getting the 30-year anniversary this year in 2025. We're gonna start with a comedy that kind of a guilty pleasure, maybe, I don't know. Billy Madison came out this year, kind of the first big Adam Sandler comedy. Of course, I was a huge Saturday Night Live fan. I used to watch Adam Sandler Saturday Night Live, and then this is his first starring role, I believe, in a movie. Um, After this, he does, like Big Daddy, does Happy Gilmore, The Water Boy. He becomes pretty much one of the biggest comedy stars of the '90s period. It kind of starts with Billy Madison. It's stupid, it's silly, but it does have some great comedic moments in it. And Adam Sandler is going full Adam Sandler here, very childish. He does very good with these very immature, childish, grown up men, kind of roles. And it's a very silly plot. Billy Madison, he wants to take over his dad's company, but his dad doesn't, think he can, and he can't because he's an idiot who doesn't do anything but party with his friends and sits around, does nothing, and drinks and uh, has no responsibilities in life, and he's kind of stupid and all these things. And so his dad tells him he has to graduate, or he has to go through all 12 years of school and graduate. And if he can do that in like such amount of time, he can get the family business or whatever. So he starts in kindergarten or first grade, whatever, goes all the way to 12th grade. He spends like a week in each grade or something. Very silly, unrealistic, but it does have some very funny moments, some great memes. Adam Sandler is definitely, he's showing what he can do as a comedy star. Chris Farley, I love Chris Farley. He has a funny kind of small part here as well. So many great lines here. I think the best one is when at they have to take a subject matter and talk about it in the finale, kind of see who's going to win. And he tells this whole story, and it seems like he's doing a good job. And then the moderator goes, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life." And everybody here is dumber for hearing you talk. It's one of the greatest lines, I think, comedy lines of all time. And and Adam Sandler says, "I know would have sufficed, but the fact this guy just tears down his whole thing." Anyways, there's more that I could talk about, but I won't talk too much. But it's a silly movie, it's stupid, but I had to put it on my recommendation list because I remember really loving that movie when it first came out. Billy Madison here. The Brady Bunch movie came out this year. Very funny movie. Very surprisingly very funny. It takes and I used to watch the Brady Bunch as a kid, the reruns. And this movie, though, is almost a satire of the Brady Bunch. It is the characters of Brady Bunch, of the TV show back in the 60s, whatever. But it's like they're living in the 60s, but they live in 1995. So everybody's like looking at them like, you guys are weird. You're still living like you're still in the 60s. So it's almost this like fish out of waters kind of family where they don't really fit in with the times. So it's almost satirical, but surprisingly just very, very funny movie. Way funnier than you expect for, you think we're adapting a movie from, or we're taking a TV show from like 30 years ago. They do that a lot. Adapting a movie usually don't work that well. This surprisingly worked incredibly well. One of my favorites, the guy telling Marsha she wants to go to this modeling, and the guy says you're gonna have to, cut your hair, you're gonna have to lose weight, and he says all these things that she has to do to get into modeling, and she slaps him and says, "Cut my hair!" Like, of all the things, that was the least offensive thing he said, and yet that was the most offensive thing to her. The idea of cutting her hair. It's one of my favorite lines. Anyway, but yeah, Brady Bunch movie, surprisingly very good. All right, probably my favorite comedy this year is Tommy Boy. I love Tommy Boy. I have that on a Steelbook Blu-ray, in fact, right now. Really good. Uh, First Chris Farley kind of starring role. It's kind of a buddy comedy with him and David Spade. Again, I'm a big Saturday Night Live guy, so those coming off Saturday Night Live. This was kind of their first big movie together. And I saw it in the theater and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And since then, it's still maybe the top 10 favorite comedy of all time. And Chris Farley's, it's his best performance. So sad he died so young. I say he died when he was like 33, but oh my gosh, he was so funny. He was probably my favorite Saturday Night Live member of all time. And it felt like he had such a career ahead of him. It's unfortunate that he does Tommy Boy. He does small parts in other movies, but Tommy Boy is like his starring role, and I think he absolutely nails it because he's so likable. Something about Chris Farley that you just couldn't. There's nobody like him. He was so unique. His physicality was great. That's why he was so funny. He was a fat guy who was very nimble on his feet and could do pratfalls and be very funny. And yet you just like him. He's just so likable, and that's what made him such a unique comedic actor. Like nobody could do what he could do, it seemed like, and he is so funny in this movie. And of course, like I said, their chemistry is so good between him and David Spade because they were friends in real life, and the way they kind of go back and forth to make fun of each other is kind of real to real life. A lot of stuff they do in the movie, it kind of comes from real life in some senses, but it's actually, and it's, like I said, it actually has a good story, I think, behind it. This idea of like his Tommy, again, his dad dies, and so but they don't trust him to take over it's the same story, I guess, a bit of mass, and they don't trust him to be able to take over this brake manufacturing company that sells brake pads. And so he tries to prove himself, and the company is going to go down under, but him and Dad Spade are going to go on this road trip and sell brake pads. If they can sell so many, they can save the factory, or the factory will die. And so there's actually a really good, again, another good father-son kind of story here. And there's some emotional moments here as well that Chris Farley does really well in the more dramatic moments in this movie, the very few they have. And but yet, absolutely, it's just so funny. There's just so many funny lines here. I can go on and on. I don't have time. But Tommy Boy, I love this movie so much. Definitely check it out if you haven't. All right, I'm going to go with another movie that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably top 15. Used to be my top 10, but it's probably around top 15. And that was Braveheart. This actually won the Oscar for Best Movie. Mel Gibson directed and stars in this as William Wallace, a Scottish folk hero kind of thing, fighting against the evil English Empire. Um, this was a 3-hour epic, movie taking place way, period piece of Scotland. And man, it's such a good movie. The story is so great. It's a great love story. There's a great like kind of romance love story in there, and Mel Gibson's so good as the lead. He is so charming and so funny at times, but yeah, it's very dramatic, of course. Uh, it's a very dramatic movie, and it's got some horrific things happen, because the English Empire is evil. And then it's got a lot of battle scenes, a lot of medieval type battle scenes with swords and spears and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just love the character. William Wallace is such a great character. You really rooting for him. Hate the king. The king is evil, so terrible. They do a good job with that. And the fact that they killed his wife, and he kind of wants to get revenge for that. You totally back him up. You're like, yeah, get revenge for that. For that's a horrible thing to do. And so you get his anger and why he wants, and then why he wants freedom. And the whole movie is about fighting the English Empire to get your own freedom, because they feel like we'd have no freedom. We have to do what the empire, the English Empire says, the king says, and he's doing evil things to us, the Scottish people. And so it's really, yeah, I just love the whole story, like trying to, how important freedom is. Because as American, we love freedom. Freedom's like a huge thing for us. So I love any movie where it's about, fighting for your freedom. It's always very patriotic. I love the patriotism, even though it's not American patriotism, it's Scottish patriotism. But I don't know, I love the patriotism of like loving your country so much that you're going to die for your own country to help, the future generations and stuff like that. I love all that. The battle scenes are very, gruesome, very realistic kind of at the time, lots of limbs getting cut off and stuff like that. We see that all the time. At the time, it was somewhat new. We get that, of course, in the Game of Thrones and all kinds of shows, but at the time, that was pretty gruesome in 1995. I didn't see it in the theater. I was too young to see it in the theater. I did see it on VHS tape, and it came in two. It was so long that you had to have two VHS tapes, and so I saw it on VHS tape probably a year or two after it came out. But yeah, I mean, that scene where he, talks to his troops about they're going to go fight the first big battle, like the real big battle of the movie, probably the best scene of the whole movie, and him saying, why are you leaving? And like, oh, we don't want to die. And he says, he gives the great speech. We all know that speech. It's like the greatest moment in the movie where he gives a speech about how great freedom is and how if, you don't, you might die today, or if you run, you might live for a little while, but someday you will die and you'll regret that you didn't fight for your freedom. And what can you do without freedom? And he goes through this whole speech. It's on this horse, and it's, and the freedom, whatever, and they all, shout, and then they have the big battle, and even the very end when he gets killed. I'm spoiling the movie, but sorry, it's a 30-year-old movie. And before he dies, he yells freedom. Oh, the music's so good. It's my favorite musical score, James Horner. I have the CD. I have the soundtrack on CD. I absolutely love that score. The Scottish bagpipes, the flutes, and it's an amazing score. So beautiful score. And James Horner, love James Horner, one of the best musical score composers of all time in movies. So it has my favorite score, and cinematography is amazing. There's so many great scenes of the highlands and the mountains, and love the cinematography here, which won an Oscar not only for Best Picture, but I think for Best Makeup, Cinematography, maybe. Mel Gibson won for Best Director as well. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a reason why I won Best Picture. So yeah, I got Braveheart here. Another movie I have is Pocahontas. Actually, one of my favorite Disney animation movies. I feel like it gets a little flack. I saw it in theater because I saw all the Disney animation movies. But I don't know. I think it's somewhat. I almost want to say it's underrated. It was big at the time. I remember it was huge. Everybody went to go see it. You know, it's a story that we all know about Pocahontas and John Smith, and how the fighting between the Indians and the first settlers, and how she kind of helped bridge the gap so they weren't fighting anymore. You know, uh, we don't really know the true story, so this is a very fictional, adaptation of the story. Uh, but overall, I think the two things I would say is one, the music is very good. Colors of the Wind, one of the best Disney animation songs of all time, won the Oscar for good reason. But there's a lot of good songs here, and the animation is so freaking good. 2D animation, the cinematography is amazing. Like, it is an amazing looking movie. When he's just looking at it, I think it's one of the best looking animation movies we've ever gotten in 2D at least. Uh, I don't think we've seen anything like it since then or before then, of course. But there's scenes where like they're in like a foggy area, and it's like, wow, it looks so good. When she comes out of the fog, I think, or whatever, and she meets John Smith the first time. Oh, that scene is so well. I don't know. It's animated, but somehow the way it's lit, the cinematography, I don't know, the way it's shot, it's so good. I still really like it. It's one of my favorite, actually. So I still have it here, Pocahontas, here in 1995. Uh, Probably my favorite movie that came out this year is definitely is, I think now, and that is Paul 13. I love Paul 13. Um, I saw this movie theater and I remember just absolutely loving it. And ever since, I've seen it so many times. Never get tired of watching this movie. I saw it with my older sister Abby. I think she took me to this movie because I was probably 12 years old or something like that, and my sister must have been old enough to drive. I think she drove us to the movie. Maybe I was 13 or something. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, great story about the Apollo 13 mission that went wrong, and they have to try to get the three astronauts back on Earth safely. Um, Very good dramatic retelling of the movie with one of the best endings that makes you want to stand up and cheer. Another great James Horner score, by the way. But really, the acting is so good. It's Ron Howard. I think it's Ron Howard's best movie. Tom Hanks is so good here. I love Tom Hanks, my favorite actor of all time. Great as the lead here. You have Kevin Bacon is great as well. What's his name? Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise. There's so many great actors in this movie. I'm forgetting everybody, but there's a lot of good character actors here as well, including Ron Howard's brother, Clint Howard's. The whole people, everybody at NASA is really good. But I just love the movie how it's about problem solving and, well, here's a problem, how do we solve it? And then they solve it, and it's very tense because, if we don't solve it, we're going to die. And just what they go through to try to get these three astronauts to survive and get back to Earth. It's an incredible story and incredible telling of it. Wonderfully shot, everything. It's an amazing movie. It's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. So yeah, Apollo 13. God, I see that movie. That's so good. I got the Usual Suspects in here. Uh, Usual Suspects is such a interesting movie. Um, I forget the name of the director. The director that now is like kind of canceled from movies now, so it's hard because, and it stars Kevin Spacey, who's also canceled. So it has a lot of cancel culture here. But and just talking about the movie itself, it's a really wonderfully written movie, a mystery. What's going on? Who's the bad guy? And it has the best reveal at the end. One of the best reveals I've ever seen, where you're like, who's Kozak or whatever, the main villain, who's behind it all, you know. And the usual suspects, you have these 5 characters who are suspects for, I think, a murder or murdering people. This whole boat of people get murdered or something. I can't remember, but so it's this police officer investigating this murder, and Kevin Spacey's the only one that's still alive. So, and he's somewhat crippled. He can't use his left foot very well, and his left side he can't use very well. Uh, and he seems like a very, meek character, like a very scared character. And then you get the whole story. He's telling the story about what happened. And you got Benicio del Toro in here, Stephen Baldwin, you got Kevin Pollak, Gabriel Burns. I mean, great cast. And that twist at the end is so good. I had to put it on here. I remember first time watching it going, what? It's one of the best twists of all time. So I had to put it on here. The Usual Suspects, which I believe also got nominated for Best Picture. And Kevin Spacey won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for this movie as well. Okay, next movie I was going to talk about is GoldenEye, because this is almost feels like this is the first Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie. It felt like a comeback for James Bond, because I felt like we hadn't had a good James Bond in a while, and it's been a little while since we had James Bond. And this movie came out, and it was huge, and really revitalized James Bond, I think, for a little bit, and also created one of the greatest first person shooter video games of all time, GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, which I played nonstop with my friends. Really great stuff there. But yeah, I had to put it on here because it seemed like it was an important James Bond movie, and I'm a big fan of the James Bond franchise, so definitely want to check out. I think Gary, I say, I already said his name, Pierce Brosnan. I think it's a very good James Bond. Anyway, so yeah, I won't say much more except for it's a good James Bond movie that you should check out. Then I got Toy Story. I mean, come on, Toy Story is one of the best animated movies of all time. It started the whole Pixar, the first Pixar movie. It started the whole, like I said, computer graphic animation. Really, this is one of the most important movies in animation. I mean, I remember seeing it, and I, of course, saw it in the movie theater. I loved it, and it was so just groundbreaking, like to watch it and go, wow, I've never seen animation like this before. As a full movie, we've only had 2D animation at this point, and then to see that and go, wow, look at the technology, what we can do with animation. And since then, we've done so much. 20 years later, or 30 years later, it's crazy. It's been 30 years now since the first Pixar movie. So we've had 30 years of Pixar. I don't think the movies have been very good lately, but they had a huge, amazing run from 95 to 2010 or something. I don't know. They had just amazing run with Pixar movies. In fact, I think we're getting Toy Story 5 like next year, so we're gonna get the 5th movie probably here pretty soon. But first movie still stands as one. It's a great story. It's one of the best written stories I think we've ever seen in animation. And the voice acting so good. I mean, Tom Hanks here again. We got Tom Hanks as Woody. What's his name? I forget his name now. Playing Buzz Lightyear, so good. I mean, we got Don Rickles in here playing Mr. Potato Head. I can't remember everybody, but the casting is so good for the voice acting. And like I said, it's a really good buddy comedy story of these two toys who, are the cowboy and you got the cowboy from the past kind of character toy that's kind of outdated, and then you got the new space toy that's more futuristic. Whoa, cool, it's future, so they kind of clash because they're what he feels like he used to be the favorite toy, now Buzz is the favorite toy, and so he's got a lot of bitterness towards that or whatever, and jealousy over Buzz Lightyear. And the Buzz Lightyear is such a great character. The fact that he thinks he is the Buzz Lightyear and doesn't realize he's just a toy, and there's a bunch of Buzz Lightyears out there. And I still say that the moment when he finds out that he's just a toy, incredible moment, one of the best moments, one of the most emotional moments in the movie, and the music in is great, and the way he finds out, and he kind of goes into this existential crisis, of like who he is. Very funny character though. It's so many great stuff. Like I can, he can fly, and I wouldn't fly. I was falling with style. To infinity and beyond. And great. I mean, so many great lines in this movie. It's such and it's just there's not a dull moment. Very funny movie. uh, paced very well. Yeah, I never get tired of this movie. It's still one of the great animation movies of all time. Toy Story, groundbreaking and still great here in 1995. 30 years after. Can't believe it's 30 years. Another movie I really loved from this year is Jumanji, starring Robin Williams. I think one of my favorite Robin Williams roles. And we just got, I think we're getting another Jumanji in another year or two with Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. But I love this original Jumanji and the whole idea behind this board game coming alive, and you have to finish it, or all these bad things come in, try to kill people and stuff like that. And Robin Williams plays as a kid, he gets trapped in the game, and then he's out as an adult, and he missed all this stuff that happened in life. And there's actually some very good emotional moments about, him and his father had a somewhat strange relationship, whatever. And so yeah, some great emotional moments again. Robin Williams is such a good actor. Even a movie like this is more of a kind of combination of an action adventure comedy. I actually had some good dramatic moments because Robin Williams is such a good actor in here. And yeah, it does have funny moments. I think I will say the special effects are really terrible. It's so outdated. At the time, it looked good, but now the CGI worked. It's just, we didn't quite have it in this movie for some reason. Even though we had Jurassic Park in '93 and Jurassic Park looks great, but some reason some of the animation was really really bad here. The CGI, but overall it's a fun movie, and love Ron Williams here, and great ending to the movie. I mean, really really great ending to it. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie, Jumanji. Still, I have the steel book, I believe, of this. Do I have the steel book? Maybe I just have the Blu-ray of this. I think I have the Blu-ray of this movie. It's so good. All right, the last movie I'm going to talk about in 1995 is Mr. Holland's Opus. This is another movie that's like in my top. I say this is my favorite year of movies because Paul 13's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And then Braveheart and Mr. Holland's Opus are like in my top 15. Like they're almost my top 10. They're like barely missed my top 10. So I got 3 movies out of this year. They're almost top 10 favorite movies of all time. That's how good I love this year. Plus, you got Toy Story, which is one of my favorite animation movies of all time. So uh, that's why I have this as my favorite movie year probably of all time. But yeah, Mr. Holland's Opus, what a great story. Used to be my favorite movie of all time. It's kind of fallen a little bit, like I said, out of my top 10. But it's such a cool story of a teacher. And I used to want to be a teacher. I actually went to school and got a degree in teaching history, but never got to do it. But this kind of was the movie that really wanted me to be a teacher. And here he's a music teacher, played by Richard Dreyfuss. Incredible performance. Was nominated for Best Actor, but it probably should have won. But the only Oscar I think they got nominated for. But it is such a good movie, and it's just kind of about this school teacher, Mr. Holland, and it starts in '65 and ends in '95. So it's a 30-year kind of look at his career, a fictional character. But I love just the character. He's a little rough around the edges sometimes. He's not always a good person. He's a little jerky at times, but overall he cares about his students and he helps them become better people. And that's what I love about it. I love the idea of teachers, you know, trying to help people become better. That's why I want to be a teacher, is I want to help kids, become better people, mentor them and all that. And he does that in this role. And I love how that character, he doesn't want to be a teacher. He just does it because he needs a job, and he doesn't think he's going to make a career out of it. He's just going to do it for a little while, and then he's going to quit and become a music composer or something like that. But then he falls in love with teaching and he makes it his career. So I kind of love that, how he goes into it kind of kicking and screaming, and then comes out. He loves teaching, doesn't want to quit. Um, and there's a lot of great story moments with him and his son. His son is deaf and can't hear, and he's a music teacher, so there's some great moments there. Yeah, it's a very dramatic movie at times. Definitely makes me tear up at times, and that's always a good thing if you make me emotionally involved in the story and the characters. And yeah, it's just a good character and a great kind of idea. And I love how we go through the decades and you see how times have changed fashion wise and music wise, how everything's changing. So I love that, how it goes through 30 years. And the montages are so good. It's like maybe the best montage movie of all time, where you get montages for each decade. But anyways, in the finale is one of the greatest endings of a movie all time, where they have a big celebration for Mr. Holland when he retires, and they play his song that he spent his whole career writing this song. And Oh, so it's definitely a scene that I cry every time I watch it. Because it's like, oh my gosh, it's so nice what they do for Mr. Holland, and we all wish we could get that kind of celebration when we retire someday. We won't, but it'd be fun if we did. Anyways, Mr. Holland, one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely check it out. So that's 1995. Those are movies 30 years old. I know I'm going over an hour here. I need to. It's getting kind of late. I need to kind of probably wrap this up. But the next couple aren't. I don't have so many movies. Those 2005 and 2015, 2005, 95 are definitely the ones where I have the most recommendations. The next one I don't have nearly as much, so we'll get to these fairly quickly. I have 1985 is the next one. So these are movies that are 40 years old. So I was 2 years old when these movies came out. So I didn't see any of these in the theater. Saw them much later as a kid, I guess. But I was still alive when these movies came out 40 years ago. So these movies, there's not a lot of them. There's only a handful of them that I'm going to talk about that I kind of recommend. Um, One of them is Rambo 2. I love the first Rambo movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Rambo 2 is a little bit different. Rambo was the first one is a little more about him having PTSD and not as action oriented as you would think. It's really about him dealing with PTSD and stuff like that. Rambo 2 is really the full balls to the walls action movie. This is the movie you think about when you think about Rambo as a character. And I don't like it as much as the story isn't as good as the first one, but yet this one is definitely the fun action movie of the two. I said I don't like the third movie. I do like the fourth Rambo movie, and I don't like the fifth one. So there's like three really good Rambo movies in the five Rambo franchise, and this is my second favorite probably out of the five, with Rambo being my favorite. But yeah, he's in like the Vietnam. He's going back and finding prisoners of war that are still there, so he has to go in and get them and rescue them. And so there's great scenes like I mean the iconic scene of him shirtless. He's ripped. It's Sloan at his most ripped, shirtless. He's got a giant machine gun that he's firing with one hand. He's got the red bandana over his forehead. It's just an iconic look. It's so good. He shoots a lot and kills a lot of people in this one. He has a giant knife in this one. He also uses, and then he gets into like a helicopter or something like that, or some kind of flying vehicle, and somehow, or is it? Yeah, I'm trying to think what happens. Yeah, he takes down other planes in this one. It's a good action movie. I have to recommend it here. Rambo 2. Or it's called something else. It's called like, because the first one's actually not called Rambo. The first one's called First Blood. So this is called like uh, Rambo First Blood Part 2 or something like that. Anyways, uh, the movie, obviously, one of my favorite movies of all time came out this year. And I did a whole video. I did like a couple hours on this movie. So I can't say too much more about it. But Back to the Future came out this year, 40 years old. I did on November 5th. I did a whole video on this, whole live stream, talking about how much I love this movie. Yeah, I love it. It's my fourth favorite movie right now. So it's a top five movie of all time for me. And yeah, it's just a great sci-fi action adventure comedy uh, about time travel. The best time travel movie of all time. Michael J. Fox is so great as Marty. Of course, Christopher Lloyd as Professor or as Doc Brown. Oh my gosh. What can I say? It's a great movie. You can see my other video if you want to see more of my thoughts on that. But yeah, not much more saying that. Another movie I really like, I don't know if it holds up as well, but I still had to put my recommendation. That's the Santa Claus the movie. Yeah, or Tim Allen. That's what I was thinking about. Tim Allen's in Toy Story. He played Buzz Lightyear. When you hear Santa Claus, you think of Tim Allen. That, of course, comes much later. This is back in '85. There was a movie called Santa Claus the movie. This was a favorite of mine as a kid. I used to watch this nonstop. We must have had the VHS of this or something when I was a kid. But it's a good kind of origin story of Santa Claus, where this guy and his wife they get lost in the snow and then come across these magical elves in this workshop, and they have him become Santa Claus, and then he becomes. It's really good look at Santa Claus though. He's a good. I can't remember the name of the actor who plays Santa Claus, but he's really good. Maybe the best Santa Claus I've ever seen. I love his portrayal of Santa Claus himself. The only person, Dudley Moore plays the head elf, who's really good here. Gosh, the villain in the movie is also really good. I'm forgetting his name. Uh, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name because he's a famous actor as well. But the villain of the movie is like a billionaire guy who owns like a toy company, and so Dudley Moore like sells like secrets to him, or gives him magic dust to make toys, or anyways, and so he uses it to make money. He's an evil, capitalist, kind of guy. But anyways, I can't say too much more about the movie except, uh, yeah, Santa Claus and I can't. I don't know. I don't have the time to talk about it, but it's a good. It's not the best Christmas movie ever, but it's a solid movie about like an origin of Santa Claus that I really like. So I put it on here. Santa Claus the movie. Next movie I got is Spies Like Us. Spies Like Us is a another buddy comedy with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. Again, came off of Saturday Night Live back in '75, whatever. Or they left at different times, but both original members of Saturday Night Live. And this is a movie where they play spies, U.S. spies, but they're like very incompetent spies, and they get put on this mission together to go to like Russia to get something, anyways. And so, but it's very funny, of course, with Dan Aykroyd. And Dan Aykroyd's kind of the smart guy, while Chevy Chase is kind of the bumbling idiot, as he always plays in these movies. Uh, there's some really good stuff here, though. It's a overall a very funny buddy comedy. I won't say much more than that, but definitely check it out. Spies Like Us, I like it. And the last movie I'll talk about in '85 is Clue. Clue is a movie. I think it's got almost a more of a cult following now. It's not the funniest movie ever, but yeah, it is very funny. It's got a great cast of characters, and Tim Curry is so good. Oh my gosh, Tim Curry in the '80s, man, he just nails every performance. And this is another great performance of him as the butler here. Has some very funny moments here. I'm trying to think of everybody that's in here. Like Madeline Kahn is in here. I think Michael McKean is in here. I'm sure there's so many other great actors in here that I'm forgetting. But the overall cast, it's based off of a board game, Clue, the board game, where you have all these people, Professor Plum and Colonel Mustard and all these different characters you have in this mansion. Someone gets murdered, and now they got to figure out which one of them murdered them with what weapon, And I don't know, it's a movie that I don't think I loved at first, but the more times I've seen it over the years, the more I've actually really liked this movie. It's not one of my favorite, not one of the funniest movies, but yeah, very solid, funny movie based on a board game. So I put it on here. Clue from 1985. So those are the movies that are 40 years old. So now we're gonna, again, I know, believe me, the longer we go, the less movies I'm gonna talk about. So now we're gonna talk about movies that are 50 years old from 1975. And again, I just have a handful of movies to talk about on this year. First one, I have The Strongest Man in the World. This is a Disney movie with Kurt Russell when he was kind of a teenager age. Anyways, he did a bunch of these kind of movies. And this is my favorite of the movies that he did. And this is one you can catch in Disney Plus. And I saw it for the first time a couple of years ago on Disney Plus. I've heard about it. It's about, they're at a college and they come up with this secret formula that makes you super strong. And Kurt Russell, who's a college kid in the science department, takes it and he becomes very strong. And then the college is trying to they compete in some kind of weight strongman game or something like that where they have to compete against this other school. And it's not the greatest movie, but I liked it. It's actually uh, I like old Disney movies like this in the 70s, 80s, 60s period. I grew up on these kind of movies and I liked it. Overall, again, it's not a great movie. You're not going to like come out going, it's one of the best movies ever. But amongst a lot of the Disney live actions, I really like it. So I put it on this list as one to recommend this time period. Of course, I have to put Monty Python, Holy Grail. I mean, one of the greatest comedies of all time. The best Monty Python movie, I think, about Arthur and trying to find the Holy Grail and all his Knights of the Round Table. It's so silly. It's Monty Python, so you get this very, very silly English humor, but it's so funny. And they're more of a sketch comedy group, so the movie plays more like a sketch comedy show well, I mean, different sketches. It feels like you take these characters and they created all these funny sketches within the movie that you go from one sketch to the next sketch to the next sketch. So like as a story, as a movie, it's not great. Like the ending, I think is very unsatisfactory. But yet, I know why they did. They did the ending because they wanted to do something different or do something, you know, unreal, un something unique, something you never see in a real movie, something out there, you know. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's not a really great ending to the movie. I would even say the last half of the movie is not that great. I think most of the funny stuff is in the first maybe hour of the movie. It's got so many. I mean, you got the night that they cut off his arms and his legs, and he still wants to fight. That's a great scene. You got the them trying to get to that castle. The French people taunt them. That's great stuff. You got the burning. What they gonna do with this witch? The witch scene. You have, I don't know. There's so many great scenes. The rabbit, the killer rabbit scene. Oh gosh, just one great sketch or another. The nights you say knee. It's just too much to talk about. So many funny moments, and even the very first scene, it's just absolutely hilarious. Like just him having this conversation about, you know, how do coconuts get there? Because they don't have horses. They have guys that hit coconuts together that sound like horses. It's hard to explain. It's so silly, but because the budget, they didn't have a budget for horses, so they just have a guy hitting coconuts together to make the clopping sounds. And the idea that he's trying to talk to these guys in the castle, and they're saying, "Where do you get those coconuts?" They call it out that they have coconuts, and how did they get here? Well, a swallow. How did a swallow? Anyways, it's a conversation that makes no sense within the story, but it's hilarious, and that's what I love about this movie and how it's just definitely one of the movies I laughed the most at. Like, especially the first, like I said, hour is just nonstop laughter, just brilliant British humor. Anyway, so I had to put it on here. Monty Python, Holy Grail. Of course, we have Jaws. I'm not the biggest fan of Jaws, but I put it on the list. It was a big box office movie. It made Steven Spielberg like a household name, made him one of the great directors at this time. It's a great kind of thriller, almost horror movie with a shark killing people. And the last scene is very good. We need a bigger boat. And Richard Dreyfuss here, Roy Schneider, uh, and them being attacked by the big mechanical shark. Very gruesome at times, and how they defeat the shark. It's got some good, thrilling scenes and some action here, and it makes you scared to go out in the water for sure. It makes you scared of sharks for sure. But yeah, Jaws definitely kind of groundbreaking movie, so I'd have to mention that. I would mention the Apple Dumpling Gang, another Disney movie. Now, this is one I grew up on. It's one of my favorite Disney live action movies, Apple Dumpling Gang. Uh, it's a very funny Western movie. I won't go too much again into the story, but uh, I will say Don Knotts and what's his name? Don Knotts. I'm forgetting the other actor, but the two bumbling idiot actors are so funny. And that's why you should watch the movie. Is for the two these two guys that are like used to be part of a gang. Now they're working together and they're trying to rob people, but it never works out. And then they try to steal this gold in a bank at the end. And the way they try to go about it is just really great physical humor. I'm a big fan of Don Knotts, and he's great here. I'm forgetting the name of the other actor. The other actor is so funny too, and they work so well together. Anyway, so Apple Dumpling Gang. It's a very fun movie. It's a family kid movie, but it's great. Uh, a movie that's not a family kid movie, but I put it on here is Dog Day Afternoon. One of Sidney Lumet's best movies. Al Pacino, I think probably my favorite Al Pacino performance. Should have maybe won an Oscar for this. There's a lot of good performances this year, but it's such a crazy movie. It's just about a guy. It's based on a true story of a guy and another friend of his, and they rob a bank because he wants to get money because he has a gay boyfriend who wants to make a sex change, and so he's getting money. So his boyfriend, and he's married too, but he has a boyfriend on the side he's trying to pay for a sex change. It's crazy, crazy premise. But then he's stuck in the bank because the cops get there before he can escape. And so the whole movie is him with these hostages trying to figure out what to do, how to get out of the situation. Very, like, you can see the sweat on their faces so well. It's very like tense, yet it somehow finds comedy too. There's some comedic moments somehow, strangely in such a kind of dramatic movie. But Al Pacino is so good here, trying to figure out how to get out of this very bad situation that he got himself into and negotiate. He doesn't want to kill the hostages, but he's got to pretend like he needs to, just so the cops don't, go in there and grab him. And he's trying to figure out. He's trying to figure out. He's just a regular guy. He's trying to figure out how to negotiate with the cops, how to get out of the situation. It's a really good movie, Dog Day Afternoon, uh, by Sidney Lumet, and yeah, definitely want to check out. And the last movie I'll talk about from '75 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You have to talk about this movie. It won Best Picture. In fact, it's the first, or it's the second movie to win the Big Five, which is Best Director for Milos Forman, Best Screenplay, I believe, as well, Best Actor for Jack Nicholson, Best Actress for Louise Fletcher. Um, yeah, so in Best Picture. So won the Big Five: Picture, Director, Screenplay, Actor, Actress. One of only three movies to do that. And uh, Jack Nicholson's one of his most iconic performances. Of course, he won the Oscar, but he's in a nut house and he's trying to get out of this nut house because he finds out he doesn't really want to be there. I think he was there to try to. Originally, I think the story is that it's from a book. I think he's trying to get out of being drafted into the army or something like that, and so he says he's crazy, so he gets admitted into what do you call that? A place where crazy people go, and you meet all these other crazy people there. In fact, you get Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd, their very first movies. Uh, oh gosh, and I can't remember names of people, but really good performances here. A really cool story about a guy, trying to, he's trying to. It's like the administration is, kind of evil. The head Nurse Ratched, is kind of evil, and him trying to, make people feel alive again, that they're all in there. They feel like prisoners, and he's trying to help them be free in their mind. Though they're can't get out of this place, he wants to free them up somehow. And I just love the idea that he's not going to give up. He tries to escape and all this, and he kind of goes down. I don't want to spoil too much, but he's basically willing to die than to, be a prisoner. I don't know. There's something I like about the story, and great performances. So I have that there. All right, I'm almost done here. Uh, so now we got movies that are 60 years old. And I got three movies in this category. So these are movies that came out in 1965. Of course, The Sound of Music is the one you had to talk about. It won Best Picture this year and was one of the biggest box office movies of all time. I mean, huge, epic 3-hour movie. Uh, just a couple years ago, I went to Austria and I went to Salzburg and I went on a Sound of Music tour. So I got to see some of the places where they shot the movie. So I really appreciate this movie even more than that because of that. I also have a book from the real what's her name, the main character, the book that she wrote, the Von Trapp book. I have that book. I bought there in Austria as well, and I've read that story of the real family because it's based on a real family, the Von Trapp family. But what can you say? It's a great musical. Julie Andrews is amazing as the main character. Kind of a bit of romance here. Also deals with Nazis, taking over Austria and them having to escape the Nazis and all that. Yeah, it's an epic story. It's great. One of the great iconic musicals of all time. So definitely check it out if you haven't. It's funny. It's a movie I saw when I was a little kid. So it's like, who hasn't seen this? There's probably some people that haven't seen it, but if you haven't, yeah, check it out. Sound of Music. The other two movies you probably haven't heard of, I have to talk about. One is called The Hallelujah Trail, and I can't say too much because it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but it's kind of a comedy western. Burt Lancaster's here, I think, and it's all about this town runs out of alcohol, and so they need some alcohol to travel to their town or something like that. And then there's Burt Lancaster is part of this like military. What do you call them? I forget what they call them, but some kind of military that's like uh, they're it's back in the western, so it's like a wagon train of alcohol barrels that they're trying to transfer from this one area to this town, and so the military is kind of overseeing it because they get attacked by Indians and stuff like that. But very funny Western. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's worth checking out if you ever catch it on TCM or something. And the other movie I want to talk about is Cat Blue, another Western with Jane Fonda, a very pretty young Jane Fonda here. And it's another kind of Western comedy that I grew up watching. And Lee Marvin is so good. He, in fact, won the Oscar for Best Actor for the role here. He actually plays dual roles. He plays a twin brothers. One is a drunk, the kind of the good guy in the film is actually like a drunk, and he's kind of a hired. He's hired to protect Jane Fonda's dad's land or something like that, because his evil brother, his twin brother, is trying to take his land or something like that, and so they hire him as like because he's like a really when he's even though he's drunk, he's actually really good at a real good gunfighter, a really good, quick draw. I can't say too much more than that. It's a funny movie, especially Lee Marvin. He's drunk a lot, but it's for comedic purposes. And then he's even good as the kind of evil brother who has like a fake nose. He has like a silver nose. That's how you know the difference between the two brothers. But yeah, it's worth watching. And good music as well in here. And yeah, it's a fun movie. All right, so now we're gonna get to movies that are 70 years old. These are movies that came out in 1955. I only have one movie to recommend for this year, and that is one of my favorite movies. And that is Mr. Roberts, a really good movie coming out this year, nominated for Best Picture and so forth. Uh, yeah, it's another movie I watched as a kid, and I love it. It's so underrated, and people don't know about this movie. And it's one of those movies I always tell people about because I love it so much. Um, it's a John Ford movie. It's based off of a play. It's a comedy drama, I guess. It's a really funny movie, though it does have some dramatic moments, and it deals with World War II. They're on a boat in World War II. A What do you call it? It's not a fighting boat. It's like a boat that it has supplies. It's like a supply boat, I guess. I forget the word for it, but man, it's got a great cast. Henry Fonda reprising his role that he did on Broadway. He's great as Mr. Roberts in the lead here. And Jack Lemmon won an Oscar for this is the second movie he ever did, and he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He's amazing. He's really funny, which is kind of crazy how he won the Best Supporting Actor for playing pretty much a comedic role, but that's just how funny he is. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the funniest, probably my funniest performance of all time. I absolutely love this performance here, and I'm a big fan of both Henry Fonda and Jack Lemmon. They're both like in my top 5 favorite actors of all time. And John Ford's one of my favorite directors. So I mean, great combination there. James Cagney is also here as the captain that everybody hates, and William Powell as the doc. I mean, those four are so good together. Again, just so many great comedic moments here, but also a really good story. And I can't get into it because I need to stop and eat dinner here pretty soon. But really good story of this like Mr. Roberts wants to get off the boat because he feels like he feels like he's missing out on World War II. He wants to get on a fighter boat. Feels like he's not really in the war, so he wants to get off the boat. But everybody loves him, and the captain he does such a good job that the captain won't let him leave. Is why you hate the captain, and then he even sacrifices his what he wants to help the rest of the crew get liberty and get off the boat for a little while. And it's really good emotional moments there because of that. And then the crew help him get off the boat because he helps them. It's just a great story. And I said, very funny movie, but yet there's some great acting here as well. And the ending is one of the best endings. I can't say what happens, but it is an amazing ending. That's both sad and funny at the same time. It's so good. But yeah, definitely check out Mr. Roberts. It's such a good movie. I love it. All right, so now we're going to get to movies that are 80 years old. Yeah, I'm going back 80 years now. And I have two movies here. This is 1945. One is called Anchors Aweigh, which is a kind of comedy musical, I guess. I'm trying to remember now. I think it's Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly are in here. And they're sailors and they're in New York for like a day. And so they're going about New York, and you're seeing the stuff that they meet women, of course, and fall in love with these women and all this, and they're in their sailor suits. And So yeah, music is all very good and catchy. I mean, the very first song, the New York, New York, what a wonderful town. It's a good opener to the. And Gene Kelly, he's my favorite dancing actor of all time. His dancing moments are really great here as well. So great dancing choreography, some good music. It's a fun movie. So I have it in here, Anchors Away. The other movie is a movie called Bells of St. Mary. This is actually a sequel to a movie that came out in 1944 called Going My Way, which won Best Picture in 1944. So this is a direct sequel to the Best Picture winner from the year before, starring Bing Crosby, who comes back and reprises his role from the first movie as Father O'Malley. He's a Irish priest, um, head of school. You know, he's kind of head of this boys' school, and Ingrid Bergman comes in this movie as a nun. And again, I can't get too much of the plot, but it's a really good movie. I really like Bing Crosby and Ingrid Bergman here. Overall, some good story moments. It's funny. There's a guy that's trying to, of course, there's this guy that wants to shut down the school to build some business or something like that. So they're trying to fight this guy and try to convince him not to shut down the school. It's that kind of stuff, anyways. But yeah, overall, a really good movie. I don't know how do you say it? I don't know if it's not really drama. It's some drama, some comedy. It's just a very good, heartwarming movie from 1945. So, Spells of St. Mary. I recommend it, anyways. All right, the last year I'm going to talk about movies that are 90 years old. Yes, I'm going back 90 years recommendation, and I only have two movies for this year to recommend. This is 1935. So yeah, we're going back quite a bit of ways. Uh, that's about the farthest I can go. I can't go much farther than this. I can't go in the 20s. It's too old for me. But I do like two movies from this year. One is Mutiny on the Bounty, which won Best Picture this year. Stars Clark Gable. Gosh, now what's the other guy? I forget the name, but Charles Lawton is kind of the captain. It's a famous story. It's a good story though about this really terrible captain of this Captain Bligh, I think, of the ship, the Bounty or whatever. And there's mutiny on there, headed by Clark Gable, who plays like the second in command on the boat. Christian, I think his name is, and he doesn't want a mutiny, but it got to a point where the captain's too harsh on the crew that they eventually do mutiny against them, and they kind of strand themselves on an island and fall in love with these island girls and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a classic story. It's a movie that's been done many times before. Uh, anyways, but it's not one of my favorite movies, but if I can recommend a movie, I would recommend that one. I think it's a solid, and the actors are really good in the movie. So, Meeting on the Bounty here, and then the other movie is another Charles Lawton movie. Actually, I really like Charles Lawton. He's one of my favorite actors of the 30s period, and he stars in a movie called Ruggles of Red Gap. Yeah, Ruggles of Red Gap. You'd be like, what is this? This is Charles Lawton usually plays villainous roles, but this is one of the times where he plays the kind of protagonist character. He plays like a British butler who is travels to America, and I can't remember the exact details of this plot. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but it's a fun movie. It's a kind of a comedy, somewhat, where it's a fish out of water. He's English, he's in America, and they think, oh, he's weird because he has these English ways. But then they really like him, and his ways are like, they learn from him and stuff like that, and they become better people because of this guy. Uh, I don't know. It's just a fun movie, I think, of this period, and I really like Charles Lawton. He's such a good actor, and he's really good in this movie. And he got nominated for Best Picture, but that's why I saw the movie, and I love watching these old movies. So it's another old movie to recommend. Ruggles of Red Gap here in 1935. So those are movies that are 90 years old. So yeah, I took a while here. Hour 40 minutes in. Those are all the movies I can recommend that have anniversaries this year. I hope that I can do this again next year. But yeah, hopefully I'll get a new phone and I can do videos instead of live streams. Because I'm doing a live stream, I decided to just do them all in one instead of just doing. I would like to do a video for each, anniversary, but easier just to get them all done in one video. And anyways, hope you enjoyed that. Get some recommendations. Hear me talk about some of my favorite movies that are getting anniversaries this year. and look forward to seeing what movies are getting anniversaries next year, as the year is almost over. So we're almost 2026. So besides that, thank you so much for anybody watching this video. I'm gonna have to post this somewhere, I guess, some of these, because so people can remember what movies I talked about. But please give it a like. I appreciate anybody liking the video, anybody watching it. Thank you so much, and thank you so much to any of my subscribers. I appreciate you guys. You really helped me out here do this YouTube channel. And yeah, have a Merry Christmas, final rest of the year if I don't talk to you again. And see you next time. Goodbye.